Have you ever noticed how guilt and shame shape the way you talk to yourself? Not just in the big moments, but in the smallest ways. Through the words you use, the expectations you place on yourself, and the quiet rules running in the background of your mind. These patterns are subtle, but they reinforce the beliefs that we are separate, that we are lacking, that we need to be fixed before we can be worthy. But what if the belief itself is the illusion? Today's lesson invites us to ask, if guilt and shame are hell, what is their opposite? I'm Jamie O'Connor, and this is ReWired, and you are here on day 39. I'm so excited to be back after several days of not recording videos and only doing written lessons. If you've stumbled upon this, you can join getting daily lessons to your inbox and potential to join the accountability community, which I will be launching soon, by going to inspiredfocus.co/rewired. There's a link in my bio and in the description. I hope you'll join us. Shame in particular is one of those deep programs, the deepest programs we carry, especially in Western society. It is a silent thread that weaves through our thoughts, our actions, and our self-perception. It tells us that we're inherently flawed, that we must prove ourselves, that we must earn love. And perhaps the greatest illusion of all, that we must atone for something before we are truly worthy. But God and the universe actually want you to thrive. The experience of separation, trauma, and programming around shame and guilt convince us otherwise. They keep us in a loop, reinforcing that the belief we must repair something about ourselves rather than return to the truth that we have always been whole. Now, let's be clear. This experience of hell or separation is part of the human experience. It is deeply necessary in order to also know wholeness. What is not necessary is the depth of some suffering that we experience because of guilt and shame. That suffering is the illusion. Guilt and shame don't just appear out of nowhere. They are learned, reinforced, and often so deeply embedded that we don't even realize we are carrying them. What I continue to present differently than the original text of the Course in Miracles is that we need to be saved. Because from my perspective, the idea itself is steeped in programming that keeps us from stepping into our most powerful, sovereign selves. The truth is, you do not need saving. You need to remember. This is where transformation begins. Not by rejecting guilt and shame, but by understanding where they come from and how they keep us trapped. A really valuable way to do this is through the 5 whys. This is a tool I'll give you as an additional resource, and it has helped peel back layers of a belief until we reach the root. For example, let's say that you feel guilt or shame around believing that the universe or God is actually supportive of your desires. Ask yourself, why do I feel that way? You might answer, because if that is true and I desire it, then I am egotistical and self-serving. Then ask again, why do I believe I am egotistical and self-serving? And perhaps your answer is, because I crave more in this life, more than I already have, even though I am deeply blessed. And there's so many in this world that have less. So you ask again, why do I believe that my desire to have more is bad when others don't have enough? And maybe your response is, because I don't think it's fair that others have more while I have so much. And so you ask again, Why do you believe that it's unfair for you to have more? And when I really tap into my heart, I can feel, because I feel I can't receive. And as you deepen into this and you recognize that you have this core belief that you can't receive, you can also start to recognize how you keep yourself in the loop of not receiving. I feel like I can't receive. If I receive, I'm a bad person because others have less. Therefore, I should not receive. Therefore, I feel like I can't receive. This is how guilt and shame reinforce themselves. They contract us into limitation, holding us back from receiving and expanding. And when we don't receive, we cannot give from a place of overflow. Instead, we stay in a scarcity loop, believing we must suffer in order to be good. This deeply held patriarchal programming that has been around for centuries. When we bring these patterns into our awareness, not with judgment, but with curiosity and compassion, we create space to choose something different. We begin to recognize that the very thing we've been rejecting, our own wholeness, is what allows us to serve more and contribute more and love more. This is not what today's practice is about. Not fixing, not forcing, but seeing. Because in seeing, we begin to dissolve the illusion. So let's talk about how we see. For today's practice, we will work with a simple but profound awareness exercise. So find a comfortable place to sit. Close your eyes if you feel safe to do so, and take a deep breath in, slowly filling your chest, your stomach, your throat, all the way up, and feeling that breath pressure against the top of your head before you let it out. Releasing just about twice as long as you let in. Feeling the presence of your body, the depth of connection of where your body is meeting the earth, and the spaciousness that you are taking up, and the worthiness that you have in that. Feel the connection to the earth and deepen into that grounding as you continue to take the breaths, relaxing your tongue and throat down the back of your spine, feeling yourself connect deeply, deeply into the earth as you open up the breath from your belly to your crown, connecting deeply, feeling safe, and allowing your breath to release just about twice as long as you took in, letting everything soften, connecting deeply. Now bring to mind any tension, any worry, any self-judgment you might be carrying. It may show up as a feeling of guilt about something you did or didn't do. It may be a quiet, lingering shame about who you believe yourself to be. There is no need to force anything. Just notice what arises naturally. And as you hold this in awareness, ask yourself, if guilt and shame are hell, what is their opposite? Let the question settle in your mind without rushing to answer it. Instead of seeking a mental response, allow your body to feel into it. Does the opposite of guilt and shame feel like peace, like love, like belonging? Simply observe what emerges and where in your body it shows up. And now gently introduce today's truth. My wholeness is my liberation. silently repeating it to yourself. My wholeness is my liberation. Let it land. Let it meet whatever belief has surfaced and allow it to expand your awareness. If any resistance arises, that's okay. Just breathe into it. If needed, you can add our bridge. My wholeness may be my liberation. My wholeness may be my liberation. Remembering that a bridge like this supports you in creating the belief when it's hard to believe it at this moment. Now open your eyes and look around the space you're in, softly letting your gaze move from one object to another, reminding yourself, I am seeing through the eyes of wholeness. My wholeness is my liberation. As you move through your day, notice where guilt and shame still attempt to pull you back into their illusion. Not to fight them, but simply to reorganize and recognize this is not the truth of who I am. Each time you notice, take a breath and come back to the truth. My wholeness is my liberation. If you can, try to take 4 specific moments today where you go through this practice intentionally while also using it in any moments that you just notice guilt and shame arising. This practice isn't about forcing a shift. It's about bringing awareness to what has been unseen. Shame and guilt lose their grip when we stop believing their narratives as truth. And as we continue this work, we begin to open ourselves to the experience of wholeness that has always been here. Your wholeness is your liberation, not something to chase, not something to earn, but something to remember. If you'd like to take this deeper, you can use the 5 whys to explore this in the hidden layers behind the guilt and the shame. Those will be resources for you in our course portal and in your email. And of course, if you have not joined, you can do that for the very inexpensive rate. And you can do that at inspiredfocus.co/rewired. Now I want you to take a moment, come back to your body, and experience closing in the energy so that you keep yourself and the boundaries around you of your energy for you. Take a moment to imagine a beautiful white circle surrounding you. And in this moment, everything that you have here today, everything you've learned, and all of the practices moving forward will serve you and your wholeness. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for your devotion, for your practice. I will see you tomorrow for day 40. And of course, if you stumbled upon this video or the audio somewhere on the internet and you want to begin from day 1, you can sign up to receive the daily reminders, the lessons, the additional resources, and soon to be accountability group at inspiredfocus.co/rewired. Thank you for being here today. I'm Jamie O'Connor, your guide on 365 days of daily practices for the spiritually curious high achiever. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe. Help me get this out. Help more leaders step into their purpose, their co-creation, and learn how to expand their capacity so they can use their privilege for good. See you tomorrow.